Create market demand. This is all important. As with any product, you've got to create a need. We know the need's there, but we've just got to do a far better job in being able to differentiate our product from our competitor product, which, as we all know, is the synthetic carpets that dominate the market to date. 50 years ago, synthetic fibre was 60% cheaper than wool, so it gave them a huge competitive advantage in the market to come in and take the low end, the low-hanging fruit, and over time build up a huge marketing fund. And companies like DuPont with Stainmaster, using cooperative money at point of sale, and being mischievous with the information that they put out, indicating that synthetic fibre was superior to wool, and have taken a huge chunk of the market. They were able to do that because they didn't have a competitor, they didn't have an opposition, they didn't have anyone who could stand up and say this isn't actually correct and put them right. And so we pretty much gave them the market. To today now, where synthetic fibre is actually 30% on average, about 30% more expensive than wool. At current day prices, 35% more expensive. But we're not seeing any greater demand, because we now have a whole generation of consumers who don't know anything about wool, don't know the benefits of wool. Many don't even know that carpets are made from wool, because we don't have those educational processes in place, which are all important if we are to grow this market. So the importance is about product differentiation. It's about being able to tell the wool story, tell it to the right people through the right avenues, through the right organisations, the retailers, the manufacturers, and create that demand. Our objective is to brand 60 to 80% of the New Zealand wool clip. We currently brand 60%, so we're at the bottom end, and we think getting to 80% will not be that difficult. The method created a branded point of difference for New Zealand wool, and I'll talk a bit about that in due course. But we believe we have the brands and the mechanisms to do that, and this is something that we've over the recent months had a huge amount of interest and success in the international markets. And as I think the Minister said, the market determines what you actually sell. And what we probably didn't realise is there's a huge market demand for natural, renewable, sustainable fibres out there at the moment, and probably has for some time, but it's growing as the world changes and people become more conscious of global warming. I was going to choose a different word actually, because I know it's a bit of a contentious word here, but certainly environmental change. And this is an area where wool has a huge competitive advantage. Synthetics can't even come close to us in this area if we do it right and we do it correctly, and the demand is there. But you've got to be able to tell people you've got a product, and you've got to prove to people that you've got a product that can meet the very stringent standards that they put in place. So, as I said, talking about initiatives, we've got the Wools of New Zealand brand, which I've mentioned. Again, this is the Wools of New Zealand brand. This is an accreditation brand that verifies the actual quality of the carpet itself. So basically, when that brand is on a carpet, it means that carpet has been tested to very stringent levels. To basically guarantee the quality of that carpet, that it's going to last for a good number of years. And so they do wear tests and strength tests and all sorts of things before those carpets can actually put that brand on it. The Lenive brand, which hopefully you may have read through the media, the Lenive brand is a sustainability sub-brand. It is a brand which has traceability back to farm, and it'll be the first time that brand will be basically traceable from the farm directly through the manufacturer to the retailer ultimately to the consumer through one supply chain. Sounds pretty straightforward, but it's a very, very complicated process because of the complexity of the industry, where many manufacturers deal with many processes, many spinners. There's very few fully integrated manufacturers in the key markets nowadays in the world. You look at someone like Cavalier, who do everything themselves. They are a minority, really. A lot of the top-end manufacturers don't do the spinning themselves; they buy in the yarn. And so to trace this back through an auditable system is really quite complex, and that's what's taken us a fair number of months to actually go through all the various steps to be accredited the various processes, so that we can actually put this mark on the carpet. So Lanive is, as I said, our sustainability sub-brand. We've got a Woolton New Zealand market team, as I mentioned, operating in our key markets. They've doing a fantastic job. For the first time, they can actually sell wool. In the past, they were there to offer advice, to offer technical advice, creative advice, help out in various areas, but they never had an organisation. They were never linked, to a commercial organisation that had the ability to buy wool for them and move wool through the system to those manufacturers and processors that they talk to on a daily basis. So it's the progress we've made in the last 3 or 4 months since we launched the Lanive brand has been absolutely outstanding. And when you look at the difficulties that the market's facing, the global recession, and two of our biggest markets by far, the North America and the European markets, are the ones that have probably suffered most in this economic downturn. Even the inquiries and the contracts we've signed to date have been incredibly encouraging. And then brand partnerships with our key markets is again that is really the jewel in the crown. These brand partnerships are the things that we will develop into. This is where the improved returns will come over time, because these are the people that we've formed relationships over the last 15 years with the Wool's of New Zealand brand. And now, for the first time, as I said, they can now start purchasing their wool through us directly, as opposed to other sources, and we can work in the market with them, developing these tools to sell wool, to educate consumers. We're in the process of hiring educators now in the United States who will work in these retail stores, training the staff. We've got a whole lot of systems in place: touch screens, iPods. We've got training modules that we can email to sales reps' phones, which will give them each day they'll get a different one on a different aspect of the benefits of wool, and how that we can differentiate wool from synthetic carpet. So there's a hell of a lot happening, and you probably can realise how I got to 73 slides on my presentation, and realise that would probably be too much of an information download in one presentation. But there's a hell of a lot happening with the business at the moment, and it's very exciting. I know it's not so exciting for you guys with the price of wool at the moment, but I'm looking forward. What excites me is that the market has recognised that they have a real competitive advantage to be able to differentiate New Zealand wool, which is absolutely unique. And this is another point I'd like to make: is New Zealand wool is unique from the rest of the wool around the world for a number of areas, and primarily they're three: their colour, the whiteness, the brightness, and the strength. And those three aspects of New Zealand wool is what differentiates it from pretty much any other wool around the world. And some of these carpets I talked to you about before, where they charge anything up to €800 a square metre. They can only make those carpets with New Zealand wool, and so what we have to do is extract value from that value chain, because quite clearly at $2.80 a kilo that you get for your wool, it's completely unfair. It's not sustainable. So the thing about New Zealand wool is we have to differentiate it, because it is different, it is unique, and it is valued. And the other great thing about New Zealand wool is the word New Zealand. And what I've learned in my travels over the last 12 months to these key markets is the perception people have about New Zealand is greater than I ever imagined. Having lived offshore for the last 6 years, I still never understood just, you say, where do you come from? You say New Zealand, they say, what a beautiful country. When you're working in the wool industry and you say, this is New Zealand wool, it's a whole different conversation because, it is unique and they value it far, far more than we do because they get paid for it. We don't. And, that's something that we need